Good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a great night. I had to fight a wild dingus for my chicken nuggets. Um, the furball was in full on wild feral mode all today, wanting to sit on his own keyboard, be a part of his own team. Apparently, he's going to start his own show. And then he stole about three of my chicken nuggets because he's fast and close to the ground. Anywho, let's start with our stories tonight. Women are shelling out thousands of dollars for ladies only summer camps, swapping juice boxes for wine. Quote, absolute magic. Um, so, kiddos, family members, countrymen, I am this size camp for my, future holiday and birthday wishes. Rest assured, I'd be okay with this. Forget the Hamptons or St. Bart's. All the cool girls are going to camp this summer. Sharia Blumenthal, 35, can't wait to arrive at Camp Social, a women only adult summer camp in the Poconos, costing $600 for a 2 day, 3 night stay later in August. Good evening, Jedi Jess and Wolfram. Thank you for doing all of the mod stuff. Let's see here. Mom of 10, good evening. Audio coffee, good morning or evening. It's sometime in the day. Let's see here. I'm super excited about it. Everyone in my family knows, she told the Post with a laugh. The self proclaimed city girl hasn't been to summer camp since she was a middle schooler, and this is a little nervous about being outdoors, but can't wait to relive her childhood, disconnect, and make new friends along the way. Well, I mean, this, I'm sure, a bunch of women drinking wine out in the wilderness, this'll either go really, really well and we'll end up with like a waiting to exhale dance around the coffee table, freedom from the patriarchy dance, or someone's going to get told something about themselves they are not going to like, and it's going to be a cat fight. There's kind of not a middle option. But these aren't your stereotypical sleepaways with sloppy joes and rickety cabins. At adult summer camps, unlimited wine replaces juice boxes. French chateaus sub for wooden cabins in the middle of nowhere, and community swaps in for competition. Although the hair braiding and friendship bracelet making can remain, all these excursions have wait lists longer than the pool at Dumbo's house. The Camp Social has a roster of about 40,000 eager beaver wannabe campers, and Camp Chateau, a woman's only adult adventure in the south of France, costing $2,300 for a 6 day, 5 day night stay, has over 2,500. I mean, to be fair, I don't want to go to France. I just want to be left alone in the middle of woods in quiet to drink wine and listen to my terrible audiobooks. I have very oh my gosh, everyone just starts talking about cases. You know what? I have a market opportunity if anyone is good with business and numbers and perhaps Dr. Wolf. Um, if you could help me write a business plan for a true crime adult women's sleepover, I think we could have a real marketable business because there are two ways you go as a woman. Either Hallmark movies or full and rule. I mean, there's kind of not an in between. At least in my experience. You either go full on Hallmark movie or you go true crime, Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Good evening, Chaz and JKD Buck. Good to see ya. So, yeah, I'm just saying if I can figure out how to do all the peopling, well, yeah, he'd be my numbers guy. He'd explain physicsology, help us make a potato gun to shoot wine glasses. I mean, I even like Dr. Ratchet or Witchert or whatever his name was too. We'll just have both of them come over and explain to us how all cases are BS. Adult sleepaway events are not a new concept, but demand even at Camp No Counselors, a co-ed adult gathering that started in 2013 and now has several locations has never been higher, a representative told the Post. It comes as both the loneliness epidemic and interest in travel continue to spike. Both Camp Social and Camp Chateau welcomed their first sessions of visitors last year and were pleasantly overwhelmed by the reception. I mean, okay. Take me to Hogwarts/Bridgerton house. I would be okay with it. I mean, yeah, I'd be okay with a bunch of, all the food, all the carbs. They're sold out for the next 2 years already. Well, that will give me time as a 100-aire. I mean, don't go peanut butter and jealous on me, but as a 100-aire, I'd need about 2 years to save. Sue Jacobs, 59, of Huntington, can't wait to return to Chateau next month. It's magic, absolute magic from the first, second, until the last. When you're just sobbing that you have to leave, she told the Post, I'm going back because there's absolutely no way I can stay away. She attended the French outpost in Béziers, France, for the first time last summer with her daughter Shelby, 30 years old, and relished every moment, whether it was horseback riding, picking plums off fruit trees to eat by the pool, or playing games with strangers. Ugh, the whole stranger thing, I don't know. I'm going to need to do you mouth breathe? Do I get my own room? Are you gonna put a tuna melt in the microwave? I mean, I need to know some serious things about you. Are you allergic to deodorant in any way? Cause and do you currently now possess any patchouli oil? Maybe I'll make a camp for loners. It's whatever you want it to be. It can be everything, it can be nothing. The whole point of camp is the exploration, not just things you've never done before, but to have time with yourself. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Do not make me spend time with myself. Why do you think I have so many wigs and different characters? This is all born from not having to deeply introspect on my personal motives and weirdness. And how often do you get that? She said. Uh, you didn't have to be like the executive, you didn't have to be the mom, you didn't have to be the planner or the caretaker. You could just be a person and absorb everything. Her daughter Shelby couldn't fit camp into her summer schedule this year, but encourages anyone to jump in if the opportunity arises, if you can get in. It was one of the best things I've ever done, she told the Post. There's this sense of community that you experience the moment you step in, she said, describing how everyone was coming in and letting their guard down. Okay, this is sounding way too Hallmark movie for me. I'm gonna need to work on that whole, crime con meets camping, glamping. Crime con means glamping with none of this. We don't need. The Brooklynite has explored Paris and relaxed in the Bahamas, but this was a kind of fresh getaway. People are just looking for something really different and new that makes them feel alive in a way, she said. Camp Chateau was created by Philippa Gerling, 59, who hoped it would be a safe place for women to slow down and reconnect with themselves. Oh, for the love of goodness. Uh, Women, this is her quote, and minorities spend most of their working life putting on masks and trying to behave in a way which they can be heard and respected and they can advance, she told the Post. It's frankly exhausting. Yes, men never have expectations ever. It's just women. I hate that so much. The whole philosophy for the camp is you're already wonderful. You don't need to work on yourself. You need a break, Gerling said. It's a really fun, joyful, childlike, relaxing experience. Camp Social skews a bit younger and offers a bit more of the classic summer camp experience, the wooden cabin, the tug of war games, with the intention of creating fun, especially for women. So if you would just like to go back to summer camp, this is the one you can do. Uh, but Founder Liv Schreiber, 27, told the Post that she started Camp Social last year to allow women to connect to their childhood selves again and spend a weekend enjoying themselves however they please. No two girls' experience is the same. Some girls are going to have a high intensity, high energy, wild, do everything, play pickleball, play tennis, climb the rock wall kind of weekend. And some girls are going to choose to do yoga, meditation, or acupuncture, Schreiber said. She explained that the weekend long experience allows women to make deep connections quickly. It's not a 1 hour activity where you walk into a building and then walk out and you have to face the stresses of life. You get to put your phone down and be around other people who have the same intention as you for 3 days. So you get to really be with yourself and with them. The activities aren't what makes it special. Of course, we have s'mores and all the good camp things, but what makes it special are those moments that are unplanned between these activities. It's those moments of connection. Yeah, yeah, it's JKD Buck. I am so sorry. My first stepdaddy died suddenly when I was 9. That night, my mom stood by my door of my bed and said, I was the man of the house now, expectations indeed. Yeah, I mean, everyone would love to kind of shed their adult worries. These are a human thing. I don't think we have to single anyone out for, super, victim points. These are things that are somewhat universal, male, female, Zimzer, even furries, but usually contained in their conventions. So it's just, uh, yeah, I hate this, like, ladies are the only ones that have problems thing narrative that's coming a bit, you know, overboard here lately. Maddie Martino, 27, can remember what activities she signed up for, but hasn't forgotten the friends, that she's made. In fact, they've become some of her best. Martino and the women she met at camp have traveled the country visiting each other and rented a lake house in Alabama together this summer. Everyone was there to make friends, so we had the same goal, she told the Post of Camp Social. Women bonded over what books they were reading, their favorite hobbies, and running around like absolute maniacs. What did they did for work didn't even come up until the bus ride home. Everyone was just laughing, having fun, not worrying about our actual real lives in that moment. So there you go. If you would like to, well, if you're a lady currently, maybe they make dude lady camps, but well, do both gender co-ed camps. But yeah, this sounds like things I actively would avoid as an adult. I mean, the thought is interesting, but then, like, oh crap, we're gonna do like sporty things. Does anyone like to do the sit around and read a book and not talk to each other kind of thing? Because I'm your best friend. Unless I decide I like you, and then I'm just going to verbally vomit all over you for like 18 hours, and you'll wonder why I said I was an introvert and I'm a liar. In absolute dumpster fire news, one dead and two injured after an out of control daytime stabbing spree in New York City street. I mean, y'all, neighborhoods are going to start fighting back. And this is my big worry. I know that I was kind of impressed with the story of the family of Taekwondo, instructors. And then in New York, the group of citizens that stopped the gentleman who is alleged to have raped a 13-year-old girl, but this is gonna start getting really, really scary. Absolutely. Wednesday was my hero. I was like, "Mom, don't send me to summer camp unless you want me to take over." A 38-year-old man is dead following an out of control stabbing in New York City. Two other victims, a 31-year-old man and a 52-year-old woman, are recovering from their injuries. The suspect, a 30-year-old man, was taken into custody following the attack. However, no charges have been filed against him. Authorities also discovered a cutting instrument at the scene. According to the New York Post, the incident took place around 5:45 Sunday evening near Avenue A and East 14th Street in Manhattan's East Village. The trio were making their way down the sidewalk when they were jumped and stabbed. They were all rushed to nearby Bellevue Hospital, where the 38-year-old, who had his neck slashed, was declared dead. The other man and woman were slashed in the lower back and leg and were listed in stable and critical condition, respectively. Quote, the situation on 14th Street is out of control, New York City Council member Keith Powers wrote in a statement following the incident. This is directly across the street from my district where my constituents walk every day. It is unacceptable to continue to have the conditions on the street remain status quo. Powers reiterated his call for a consistent and sustained presence of the NYPD in the area, noting that more cops being stationed there has led to a marked improvement. He urged also elected officials and government agencies to support policies that would see, quote, a dedicated NYPD presence to curb illicit activities, continued enforcement of illegal vendors, ongoing attention to trash and sanitation cleanup, and more. That area of East 14th Street has gotten progressively worse since the panorama. Longtime resident Emery Svendick explained to ABC7 in the wake of the violent attack that, quote, the homeless population kind of took over the streets, and that since then they've been doing non street legal pharmaceuticals, attacking one another and the public, and generally causing a mess. Mayor Adams called the block disgusting and vowed to do more, but little improvement has been made. So, the fact that isn't even like some shocking news anymore is just ridiculous. It's absolutely irritating. Now, I need y'all to listen to Mama Mo, but what happens online is not always real life. Apparently, this guy didn't, he plays hard in the paint on, I don't know, Fortnite. But a New Jersey man allegedly flew to Florida to attack a fellow gamer, sheriffs say. Because, yeah, you just go around carrying a hammer. This guy. Why did they give him a 2X uniform? That is some meanness right there. A New Jersey man faces an attempted murder charge after allegedly flying to Florida and attacking a fellow gamer with a hammer over an online dispute, authorities said. I mean, I feel like I want to congratulate him for not using swatting, which is dangerous, horrific, and ridiculous, that he was willing to, I don't know, do the hard work himself, but that's a very low bar to climb over. The two had never met in person before the suspect showed up at the victim's home in Fernanda Beach over the weekend, quote, apparently to confront the victim, Nassau County Sheriff Bill Leeper said during a press conference on Monday announcing charges in the case. The incident is believed to have originated from an online altercation, Lieber said, calling the case a weird one. He's like, what is this internet's gaming you call it? Don't you have like a Nintendo or a Sega? The suspect, Eric Kang, 20 years old, allegedly gained entry into the victim's home through an unlocked door and, wearing all black clothes, gloves, and a mask, attacked him with a hammer when the victim got up from gaming to use the bathroom late on Saturday or early on Sunday morning, according to Leeper. The victim, who is believed to be around the same age as Kang, was able to wrestle the assailant to the ground, Leeper said. He and his stepfather, who was woken up by the scream for help, were able to disarm the suspect and restrain him until deputies arrived. Uh, Upon arrival, they discovered a significant amount of blood in the entryway of the home and the victim's bedroom. The victim sustained severe head wounds during the assault, the sheriff said. The victim has been released from the hospital. Kang was booked into the Nassau County Jail on Sunday and charged with attempted second degree murder and armed burglary. It's unclear if he has an attorney yet. Leeper said the investigation is ongoing and charges may be upgraded. When asked about a motive in the assault, Kang allegedly told deputies that the victim is a, quote, bad person online, end quote, Leeper said. He also allegedly asked how much jail time you can receive for breaking and entering an assault, according to Leeper. I would say, Mr. Kang, it'll be a very long time before you play video games, Leeper said. The victim and suspect allegedly knew each other from online video game Archage, according to Leaper. The Korean massively multiplayer online role playing game is no longer accessible in the United States as of Thursday, its publisher announced in April, citing the declining number of active players. Kang reportedly told family that he was going to meet a friend he had met years ago through the online video game. Leeper said he flew from Newark, New Jersey to Jacksonville, Florida, and arrived at a hotel near the victim's home early Friday morning, according to Leeper. He allegedly purchased a hammer and a flashlight at a hardware store upon landing in Florida with receipts found in his hotel room. The incident serves as a stark reminder of potential real world consequences of online interaction, Leeper said. We urge the public to exercise caution, report any suspicious behavior online to authorities, and always ensure that their homes are fully locked. Hey, y'all remember when we first got that little AOL CD and we had all the after school specials and even bits of the Power Rangers toward the end that were like, kids, remember, don't ever give any personal information out on the internet. You don't know who's on there. And now we're like, on X, currently at this Walmart, showing a picture of my food I'm eating, and I have my location tagged to, Instagram. I mean, we were warned. We were warned what would happen if we gave Skynet too much information. In, an update, looks like the millionaire investment banker filmed punching a woman near Pride events quits his job. I can't imagine it was one of those probably like, quit or you're fired. The millionaire investment banker who slugged a woman in the face during a Brooklyn Pride event earlier this month has resigned from his job, the company said Monday. Jonathan Kay, the head of global business services franchise at Manhattan-based Moyles and Co., or Moyles and Co., was caught punching the anti-Israel protester in Park Slope on June 8th in a video which quickly went viral. He was put on leave by the boutique firm shortly after the incident. The 38-year-old woman told police that he assaulted her and left her with a broken nose, lacerations, and a black eye. A rep for the boutique investment firm confirmed Monday that Kay had quit his high-paying job without commenting further. Kay, who lives in Park Slope Brownstone, valued at more than $3.7 million, declined to comment when reached by the Post. Kay, who is Jewish, and the unidentified woman reportedly got into a verbal altercation over things that are not happening in our country. For the love of all that is Cheetos, not our countries. not. We have a whole lot of absolute absurdity going on in our own country that I would like to focus on, uh, instead of maybe dealing with a conflict that has forever existed and will continue to exist until final form Jesus comes back. But apparently, it looks like uh, he, well, resigned, demoted, himself or what have you. So there you go. That is the update. He is no longer working at an investment firm. In absolute uh, interesting sentencing, I covered the Timothy Ferreter uh, trial, the one that they kind of called the boy in the box. And as always, disclaimer, putting your child in a separate shelter that you built inside your house without air conditioning and, all of these other things, bad, bad, bad. But some of the things that this child was doing, I mean, he was out of control. He definitely needed more guidance or more help than they were giving him. So, 2 wrongs don't make a right, 2 rights make a left. A Florida mother who locked her adopted son in a tiny cage-like room, custom built specifically to house the boy like a prisoner in his own home, pled guilty on Monday and walked away with probation. Tracy Ferreter, 48, pled guilty to 1 count each of aggravated child CA and false imprisonment and child neglect for the torture like punishment meted out to the boy. For several weeks in late 2021 and early 2022, she and her husband, Timothy Ferreter, 48, forced their son to live in an 8 by 8 room in the family's garage. In exchange for her admissions of guilt, the 15th Circuit Court Judge Howard Coates sentenced the defendant to 10 years of probation. The formal mea culpa resulted in stark sentencing divide. In October 2023, Timothy Ferreter was convicted on the same suite of charges. Next month, he was sentenced by the same judge to 5 years in a Sunshine State prison to be followed by 5 years of probation. While Tracy Ferreter did not or did accept legal culpability for the abuse, she also defended her family's action after the sentence hearing. Quote, "We were living a life that is not what is portrayed in the media," she said through tears during a press conference. "There's a lot of things that nobody knew. We were a completely loving family. I love my kids. We just tried to do the best we could with what we had." In addition to the decade of probation, Tracy Ferreter will also have to complete 300 hours of community service, must undergo a mental health evaluation, attend anger management and parenting classes, and cannot have any contact with her husband or the victim. The Ferreters were initially arrested on February 8th, 2022, on CA and false imprisonment charges. At the time, law enforcement alleged the abuse began in 2017, spanning some 5 years. The specific room in the garage, however, was only built in December 2021, a contractor later told investigators with the Juniper Police Department. After completing the work, the builder contacted the police and described the project as very strange, according to the arrest affidavit. Quote, "The room was built uh, as an 8 foot by 8 foot space in the garage with its own ceiling and door," the affidavit reads. The worker further advised the door had an added bolt lock and knob only on the outside, no knob inside, so if someone were inside the office, that they would not be able to exit until someone opened the door from the outside to let them out. The worker stated he was also instructed to build this space with electricity and install a window air conditioning unit, as well as a camera in the ceiling. The contractor's story eventually became a piece uh, of the runaway child investigation that began on January 30th, 2021. By New Year's Eve that year, the boy was found at school. Detectives began interviewing him. Soon thereafter, a cover story began to fall apart. Tracy Fairder told the police the structure was used as an office, uh, according to West Palm Beach. Uh, based CBS affiliate or WPEC. The woman's story allegedly shifted several times. She later told the police that the structure was only used as a storeroom before eventually saying it was occasionally used by all of her children. I feel like no one loves me, the boy reportedly told the police, explaining the reason for having run away from his parents. According to the police, the boy said he was spanked, hit with a belt and jump rope, and spit on. During his interview with law enforcement, he allegedly asked to be put in jail so he wouldn't have to go home. The teen's siblings allegedly confirmed many details of the abuse. Additionally, police said investigators were able to corroborate some of the allegations by viewing the saved footage. Thousands of videos compiled by Ring inside the child's long term prison. The juvenile was able to attend school, however, was confined to the structure during the remaining uh, parts of the day. The Jupiter Police Department said at the time of the arrest, meals were brought into the child and the bucket was provided for bathroom use. The couple's cases were severed on request from the husband's defense attorney, who claimed the wife made inconsistent statements throughout the investigation. During Timothy Fairder's trial and subsequent sentence hearing, the defense scored several key victories that appeared to culminate in the judge being convinced. The parents were, however, incorrectly trying their best to discipline a child who made life difficult. At least he thought he was dealing with a problem child, Coates said last year, but said he had to show society cannot countenance the extreme method of punishment used to discipline the boy. Underlying the father's sentence, ultimately somewhat lenient, was some of the victim's behavior. The boy had previously testified during the trial that he was, in fact, hard to discipline. The last thing I want to do is hate, he said. I still love you. I will continue to love you for the rest of my days. Just remember I'm still your son, and always remember I'm still a Farrader. The maximum sentence that could have been imposed on Timothy Fairder was 40 years in prison. The state asked for 15 years. The sentencing guidelines suggested 6 years and 4 months. Tracy Fairder's lawyers said they were prepared to make the case had it gone to trial, something of an information sentence or session on reactive attachment disorder, which the victim allegedly has been diagnosed with, and a referendum on parents dealing with such issues. It was a completely different case than what was presented through her husband's case, defense attorney Mike Schreiner said at the post hearing press conference. Even though she had a very good chance of being exonerated, she wanted to put this to rest so her children could have some peace. So she is going to get probation and her husband's in the clink. If you're having trouble like this to the point where you have to lock the child up, get some other help. You're obviously drowning in this, and there are places and, mental health things that might work. I will say that this child that was really poorly parented was super intelligent, super smart, and somewhat manipulative. So it seems like we've gotten a lot of the story. None of it is good. And hopefully their family can heal a little bit. They can get a little bit of therapy too. I don't know. Anyways, Supreme Court don't have no time for Josh Duggar, and I'm okay with that. The Supreme Court rejects appeal from the reality or ex-reality star Joshua Duggar. You have not aged well and you're a gross human being. The Supreme Court on Monday rejected an appeal from Joshua Duggar, a former reality television star convicted with downloading CP. Duggar was on the TLC show 19 Kids and Counting with his large family before his 2021 conviction. The court did not elaborate on the denial, which is typical. Federal authorities investigated after police in Little Rock, Arkansas found SA material being shared by a computer traced to him. Investigators testified that the images depicting abuse of children, including toddlers, were downloaded in 2019 onto a computer at a car dealership Duggar owned. He was sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. Lower courts have upheld his conviction, rejecting Duggar's argument that his attorneys should have been able to ask about prior sex uh, offense conviction of a former employee of the dealership who had used the same computer. Duggar's attorney did not ask the former employee to testify after the judge ruled they could not mention the prior conviction. TLC canceled 19 Kids and Counting in 2015 following allegations that Duggar had been gross with four of his sisters and a babysitter years earlier. Authorities began investigating after receiving a tip from a family friend, but concluded that the statutes of limitations of any possible charges had expired. Duggar's parents said after the allegations resurfaced in 2015, he had confessed to the grossness and apologized privately. Duggar then apologized publicly for unspecified behavior and resigned as a lobbyist for the Family Research Council, a conservative Christian thing. Yeah. He was yeah, so dang it, Josh, I guess you'll have to go back to praying you find Jesus in jail. In well, nudity is apparently required to be spread on top of all of the world's dunes for some reason. Tourists were slammed for posing naked in a popular desert spot. Quote, very sickening. Uh, they denuded the landscape. Another day, another instance of tourists disrespecting a landmark. This time, foreign sightseers angered Namibian authorities after posing naked atop the legendary Big Daddy Dune in the Namib Desert, as seen in photographs circulating on social media. Quote, it is very sickening and it really creates a bad image for Namibia. Uh, Kenneth Napenda, vice chairperson of the Federation of Namibian Tourism Associations, told the Namibian Sun, the BBC reported. I mean, I have a couple questions. That's an entire pile of sand you are putting near your twig and berries and prison pocket. That seems like a terrible idea. That seems like you're gonna chafe and I why? Why would you do this? He added that these antics risked attracting tourists who think that, quote, anything goes, end quote, in the Southern African nation. Accompanying footage and photos snapped by an unknown source shows the unnamed trio strutting about in their birthday suits atop the more than 1,000 foot tall sand mound, which is reportedly popular with families. Visitors didn't appreciate the tourists treating the scenic site like a nude beach and called on tourism officials to take action against the crass culprits. We need to find the sandy bandits. Wherever shall they be? Authorities haven't yet publicly identified the sandy stripteasers who allegedly left Namibia by the time authorities received the reports. However, the nudists could be banned from entering the country's parks, according to tourism ministers, who added that the, quote, extremely shocking act was public indecency and therefore punishable by local law. In light of the incident, indecent as it was, officials are calling on visitors to report violators to authorities so they can deal with them accordingly. We appeal to that section of tourists who summon the conscience so they can do the right things, declared Romeo Mayuda, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Environment, Forestry, and Tourism. However, many social media's users disagreed that the incident was problematic. Quote, "Why are they in trouble? They bothered no one," that an ex-user declared according to the BBC, while another claimed that there's nothing wrong with sunbathing. Big Daddy is one of the three largest dunes in Namibia's Nambi Nakuluf National Park as a popular destination among sightseers looking to get a picturesque view from its crest. Well, there you go. If you're in Namibia, keep your pants on because that's illegal over there. Well, when someone looks like that, I'm just saying, yeah, the mug shot seems to fit the storyline. Quote, "All of us are going to die tonight," end quote. Man shot fiance in the face, assaulted landlord after luring them into a trailer. Yeah, I mean, those are some dead Manson lamps. A 33-year-old man in Nevada who shot his fiancée in the face and then brutally assaulted his landlord is facing substantial prison time after being convicted of a slew of felony charges. A Washoe County jury on Friday found Wasey John Chabot guilty of one count each of attempted murder, domestic battery with the use of a deadly weapon causing substantial bodily harm, and battery with the use of a weapon, authorities announced. According to a news release from the county's district attorney's office, officers with the Sparks Police Department in January of 2023 responded to a residence on Wolverine Way. Wolverine Way, I mean, swear to God, this dude should live on Jackal Island Road or something. He looks a bit like The Hills Have Eyes, and his dead stare is kind of creeping me out. So I'm going to hurry through this story. After receiving a 911 call from one of the victims who reported that he had been injured by Shabbat and Shabbat's fiancee had been shot. Upon arriving at the scene, the first responders said that they found Shabbat outside the travel trailer he had located on the property. Despite repeated commands to stop, the defendant ignored police and instead went inside the trailer for a few moments before exiting. Continued commands to stop and get on the ground were ignored, so he was hit with a taser from one of the officers. After detaining Shabbat, deputies went into the trailer where they discovered his 36-year-old fiancee, who has not been identified, suffering from what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the face. The fiancee also suffered several facial fractures, including to her nasal cavity and jaw. Police said the landlord, a 45-year-old man, had been struck in the head by this dingus with a firearm, resulting in a large laceration that required stitches. During his trial, prosecutors told the jurors that Shabbat, quote, intentionally lured both victims back to the property that evening with the intention of unaliving them. Prosecutors said that after watching the duo go into the trailer, Shabbat followed them in while armed with a force multiplier and said, quote, "All of us are going to die tonight," end quote. He then shot his fiancée and hit the landlord over the head with his force multiplier, prosecutors wrote in the release. The state argued that the evidence indicated that Shabbat intended to kill both the victims and himself, but luckily the other man was able to wrestle the force multiplier away and run from the trailer to call for help. Shabbat's fiancée survived her injuries. The motive for the attack was not immediately clear. The district's attorney's office did not immediately respond to a message from Law and Crime seeking additional information. Shabbat is currently scheduled to be sentenced on August 19th, 2024, before Sedgwick County Judge Scott Freeman. He is facing a maximum possible sentence of 60 years in a state correctional facility. Yes, he should go because he can't be around us normal people. I know. I need to come up with a new dingleberry. I've got to remember dingleberry more often. In some pretty good news for Texas justice or injustice, but I guess corrective justice, a Texas court exonerates a man who spent nearly 20 years on death row for a 1977 murder. After nearly 47 years, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals this week exonerated Carrie Max Cook for the 1977 murder of Linda Jo Edwards, declaring him innocent of the crime for which he spent 20 years on death row. Quote, this case is riddled with allegations of state misconduct that the warrant setting aside applicant's conviction, Judge Burt Richardson wrote in the court's opinion delivered Wednesday, which said evidence favorable to Cook was withheld and some of the evidence presented in his first trial in 1978 was later revealed to be false. Quote, and when it comes to solid support for actual justice, this case contains it all uncontroverted Brady violations, proof of false testimony, admissions of perjury, and new scientific evidence. The case encompassed 3 trials and multiple appeals, including to the Supreme Court. Cook was accused of the 1977 rape, murder, and mutilation of 21-year-old Edwards in Tyler, Texas. She was found in her bedroom by her roommate, Paula Randolph. Cook lived in the same apartment complex as the victim, leading to him becoming a suspect. A set of fingerprints on Edwards' sliding patio door matched Cook. Scientific analysis and expert testimony debunked the claim that the fingerprints found on the patio door were fresh. Cook was sentenced to capital punishment at his first trial in 1979, but his conviction was later overturned on appeal. The second trial in 1992 ended in a mistrial with a jury unable to meet a unanimous verdict. A third trial in 1994 ended with a new conviction and, capital punishment. The Texas Court of Appeals reversed the second verdict in 1996, stating misconduct by the police and prosecutors. In 1999, the results of DNA testing on Edwards' underwear did not match Cook. Edward Scott Jackson, an inmate at Smith County Jail and the star witness in Cook's first trial, testified Cook told him he had unalived Edwards. He later recanted his testimony, saying, quote, I lied on him to save myself. Jackson admitted he lied in exchange for a reduced sentence. Before the fourth trial in 1999, the state offered Cook a no contest plea deal for murder. He was sentenced to 20 years and given credit for time served, leading to his release. However, his conviction still stood. Kerry Cook maintained his innocence through all that and has now been formally announced as innocent of Edwards' murder. Kerry suffered immensely for 50 years, and nothing can give him his life back. One of Cook's attorneys, Glenn Garber of the Exoneration Initiative, said in a statement to CNN. The decision finally and forcefully clears his name, and at the same time chronicles the state's outrageous and unrelenting misconduct, Garber said. It's important for the people of Tyler, Smith County, and the world to understand this travesty of justice and see it for what it was all along. A disturbing witch hunt by state actors. I need to write this case down because I'm going to see if this decision is out. I want to read that. I think, currently or contemporaneously, we are also dealing with another case that deals with, I don't know, some cop shenanigans. So I will be seeing if this decision has been let out because I really want to see what the state did. Like, what all did they promise, coerce? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I will send that to you while I'm thinking about it, because if I don't, I will not think about anything. And it's supposed to be in Tyler, Texas, Jedi Jesse. So, but it's supposed to be the Supreme Court of the state. So I don't. CNN has reached out to the office of Smith County District Attorney Jacob Putman for comment, who took office in 2019. The appeals court ruling this week noted it did not hold current prosecutors in any way responsible for the past events in the case. Now 68 years old, Cook is one of at least 199 people who were wrongly convicted and sentenced to death that have been exonerated since 1973, according to the state's Death Penalty Information Center. Capital punishment is legal in 27 states. Yeah, that's what I am wondering. I don't know. It's just the same way I question the veracity of all of the party goers at, Fairview. They were all drinking, they were all somewhat compromised. I don't get prison snitches being used as super credible people all the time. I I am shocked. Uh, Speaking of dudes I don't want checking my mail, Proctor, are you listening? Nowhere near it. Law enforcement is spying on thousands of Americans' mail records show. Because, that's all I need is the post people to be even more confused than my husband about my amount of wigs. The U.S. Postal Service has shared information from thousands of Americans' letters and packages with law enforcement every year for the past decade, conveying the names, addresses, and other details from the outside boxes and envelope without requiring a court order. Postal inspectors say they fulfill such requests only when the mail monitoring can help find a fugitive or investigate a crime. Sure, Jan. Sure, Jan. And thank you so much, Jess. I might do that if we get on Verdict Watch. That might be an afternoon stream we can do, because that would be interesting. Yeah, well, the Constitution doesn't count when it's the federal government, I think is the federal government's motto. But a decade's worth of records provided exclusively to the Washington Post in response to a congressional probe showed U.S. Postal Service officials have received more than 60,000 requests from federal agents and police officers since 2015, and they rarely said no. Each request can cover days or weeks of mail sent to or from a person or address, and 97% of the requests were approved according to data. Postal inspectors recorded more than 312,000 letters and packages between 2015 and 2013 or 23, according to records. The surveillance technique known as mail covers program has been long used by the postal inspectors to help track down suspects or evidence. The practice is legal, and inspectors say they only share what they can see on the outside of the mail. The Fourth Amendment requires them to get a warrant to peek inside. But the Postal Service law enforcement arm, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, has traditionally declined to say how often it facilitates such requests, saying in 2015 audit that such details would decrease the program's effectiveness by alerting criminals to how the technique works. For that audit, the agency said it had approved more than 158,000 requests from postal inspectors and law enforcement officials over the previous 4 years. The IRS, FBI, and Homeland Security were among the top requesters. In a letter in May 2023, a group of 8 senators, including Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, Rand Paul, a Republican from Kentucky, Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat from Massachusetts, urged the agency to require a federal judge to approve the request and to share more details on the program, saying officials had chosen to provide this surveillance service to keep postal service or postal customers in the dark about the fact that they've been subjected to monitoring. In a response earlier this month, the Chief Postal Inspector, Gary Barksdale, declined to change the policy but provided a nearly decade's worth of data showing that postal inspectors, federal agencies, and state and local police forces made an average of about 6,700 requests a year, and that inspectors additionally recorded data from another 35,000 pieces of mail a year. Barksdale said in a letter to senators in June 2023 that the program was not a quote, large scale surveillance apparatus and was focused only on mail that could help police and national security agents carry out their missions and protect the American public. Well, of course, if the government says that, then they are totally not lying to us. Uh, The practice, he added, has been legally authorized since 1879, a year after the Supreme Court ruled the government officials needed a warrant for opening any sealed letter. There is no reasonable expectation of privacy with respect to information contained on the outside of mail matter, Barksdale wrote. Wyden said in a statement, quote, these new statistics show that thousands of Americans are subjected to warrantless surveillance each year, and that the Inspection Service rubber stamps practically all the requests they receive. He also criticized the agency for refusing to raise its standards and require law enforcement agencies monitoring the outside of Americans' mail to get a court order, which is already required to monitor email and text. Anxieties over postal surveillance are classically American. In 1798, Vice President Thomas Jefferson wrote in a letter that his fears of having his private communications exposed by the uh, infidelities of the post office. Thomas Jefferson's like, "Look, I was writing a spicy missive, if you will, and I don't want Cletus down at the post office reading my mail." And had stopped him from writing fully and freely. In their letter last year, the senators said that even the exteriors of mail could be deeply revealing for many Americans, giving clues about the people they talk to, the bills they pay, the churches they attend, the political views which they subscribe to, and social causes that they support. In 1978, a circuit court judge said that mail covers should expose someone's could expose someone's personal life in a manner unobtainable even through surveillance of his movements, rendering the suspect's life an open book. Well, I mean, I feel happy about that. That makes me not want to, stop getting mail whatsoever. In our final story of the night, at least some good news, and someone got saved and it was a kitten. So you guys won't be able to hear sound, but they had to protect a kitten. This is a very important story. Oh, look at that. That is a dingus move. That is such a dingus move. That is a dingus move to get stuck some daggone where and just look at me like, how'd you do this to me, gravity? Ohio State Patrol troopers rescued a curious kitten that had crawled between the wheels of a semi truck and became stuck. The OSP's Northeast Ohio office said on social media that the semi truck driver was conducting a pre trip inspection of his vehicle on the Ohio Turnpike in Portage County when he discovered a kitten wedged in between two tires. The video of the rescue features a person explaining the kitten had apparently got one of his claws stuck on something in the narrow space. Quote, watch this meowvelous rescue of a kitten stuck in a semi's wheel well. This seemingly impossible rescue mission had a happy ending, OSP officials wrote. The rescuers removed one of the tires and were able to secure the feline in a cardboard box. The kitten was turned over to the Portage Animal Protection League. So we ended with a nice story. We had a kitten that got saved. I will be sending you guys over to Shizzy, who is doing a dramatic enactment of Sarah Boone's latest manifesto. So I will join him on there for some shenanigans in just a couple minutes. But oh my goodness, we got a kitten. We got a happy kitten story. Look, I try to find something fun, weird, or at least somewhat heart lifting at the end because some of these stories are like, and where's that meteor that's supposed to be coming in to hit us? Like, have a wonderful rest of your evening if you are going to unplug from the interwebs instead of heading on over to Shizzy's. Have a great evening. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And I will see you guys in the morning for Mornings with Mo at uh, 8 a.m. So I'll see you then, guys. Bye.